Welcome to JCE Connect. Maybe in the previous classes we were discussing about um, introduction about uh, the estimation and what are the objectives of estimation, which are the different types of methods are there to make the estimation process. But again, still of the some introduction part of this. You might be knowing in your 7th and 8th semester bachelor degree, but still we will cover some of the very important things related to the building estimation. Normally, what I did is that mm, um, I prepared like a abstract. You know what is abstract? Abstract we already covered. It is like a summary of the different parts of the building. What are its units, and where we have to take care when you are calculating each part of the building. So normally sometimes they may ask what will be the quality of a good estimator. So before preparing the estimate, the estimator should visit the site and make the study of conditions there. For example, if the construction of the large building is planned, the estimator or his representative should visit the site first. See, the first thing is there is like a reconnaissance survey. First, you have to do the reconnaissance survey of the site. Then you have to proceed for in detail estimate. So when you uh, visit the location of the proposed building, so get all the data available regarding the soil. So soil characteristics means before um, starting of the construction, you have to find out the SBC of the soil. So what is this SBC? SBC is the safe bearing capacity of the soil. So normally the safe bearing capacity of the soil is less than 100 kilonewton per meter square. So normally it is rejected. So then obtain the information, um, concentrating on light, power and water. This is very important. um, what are the things related to the light, whether the source of light is there, whether if the source of light is not there, so then whether I have to go for the solar panels or whether I have to go for inner generation of the solar powers, what kind of things is there. Next, what about the water, whether the water facility is there. If the water facility is not there during the building construction, normally um, lot of water is required for curing purpose and all those things. Whether water is there, whether I have to dig the well, whether I have to include that bore well as estimate also. So that kind of things you have to introduce it. Next, secure information concerning the banking facility, whether banking facility is there or not. So then streets leading to railway ads, or um, whether the material dealers, whether the materials are, whether we are getting easily or not. Otherwise, if we are getting the materials for the construction from the far way, so then you have to include a lot of construction cost also. So when you are including the construction cost, there are some restrictions are there. You are not supposed to not more than 5% of the total building transportation cost should not increase. So if that is the case, normally that standard will not hold goods for long time. So it will exceed 5%, then according to the standards, whatever the estimate you will do it, it will go wrong. So investigate the general efficiency of the local workmen's. So normally this is one of the major problem in nowadays, because local labors, local mm, building construction peoples, whether they are available or not, whether they are far, whether they will come to a site uh, regularly or not. Otherwise what will happen is that if they are not coming to the site regularly, if they are not constructing, means normally day by day the cost of the building will increase. When you start estimating the building, normally what will happen is that today if you do it, if they are going to complete it by next 5 or 6 years, the cost of the building, whatever you are estimated, it is go on overlapping or it will be more at the end. So normally this we already discussed, the rough estimate and the detailed estimate we already discussed, but rough estimate how we will do it and on what um, basis we are doing the rough estimate, why it is necessary. Normally before starting of the estimate we have to go with a rough estimate, whether what in detail, and then the rough estimate the plus or minus standard deviation 5 to 10% it is required, it may happen so so how we are going to find out the rough cost estimate and detailed estimate. So depending on the purpose of the estimate, some of the types of detailed estimates are follows. So rough estimate we will discuss in the further slides, but in detailed estimate we are going to make it into three specific subdivisions, that is contractors estimate, engineers estimate, and progress estimate. Let's see one by one. So rough cost estimate. So estimation of the cost before the construction from the plans or the architectural drawings of the project schemes, when even detailed of the structural design has not been carried out, it is called the rough cost estimate. See, um, when you see the when you see the site, so before going to any structural design, what you have to do is that you have to go with a rough estimate. Then normally how you are going to do this rough estimate, for example, if you are constructing around 4 storage buildings, so maybe in the detailed estimate if you are getting around 50 lakhs, maybe in the rough estimate if you got 50-55 lakhs, that's okay. Means it should not exceed 5% of the differences in between the rough estimate and the detailed estimate. In that way you have to calculate it, and whenever you are doing the rough estimate, make sure that it has to be done with a technical way only. So these estimates are used for obtaining the administrative approvals from the concerned authorities. Of course, sometimes on the basis of the rough cost estimates, a proposal may be dropped together. This is for only proposals. So um, the unit cost is worked out for a project similar to the project under considerations carried out for recently or nearly the same site conditions. How you are going to do it? Normally, if you are doing with the same building, if you are previously, if you have done it, suppose if you got the detailed estimate of around 50 lakhs, so roughly when you do the estimate for the similar buildings, you should get a plus or minus 5% deviation. With that reference you have to take it and you have to do it. Unit cost means the cost of the execution of unit quantity of the work. Means here we are considering unit quantity, how much will be the price, that we are considering here, and based on that we are doing it. To find out the rough cost of any project, uh, the average unit cost is multiplied by the total quantity of the present work of the same units. For example, in case of the building, plinth area, consider it as in square feet of the proposed building, is worked out, which is then multiplied with the cost per unit area, that is rs per square feet. Means for example, you have 100 square feet of area is there. This 100 square feet of area, what will be the cost? Then it will be total how much you are getting, total price. In that way we are doing it. Sometimes this cost may be adjusted by average percentage rise of the cost of the materials and wages, that I already discussed. Maybe if you have planned for the construction is around 1 or 2 years, if lot of fluctuations in the rate is there, so if you are going to complete this project by considering another 3 years, means total duration of the project is 5 years, then you have to consider that increase in the wages or increase in the material cost of that 5 years, next 3 years of that building also. So normally the rough cost estimate may be prepared on the following basis for different types of projects. Cost per square foot of the covered area is the most commonly adopted criteria for preparing the rough cost estimate of the most of the residential buildings. For public buildings, of course, for student hospitals, hotels, it is always per person we will calculate it. Of course, um, for commercial offices, how we are going to make it, water tank, how we are going to make it, roads and railways, how we are going to make it, streets, bridges, it is always, um, for bridges we are making it cost per uh, meter length we are doing it. This is a rough estimate when you are doing it. For example, if you want to take this example and do it, this I have already done it, but calculate the total rough cost estimate and the cost per flat for multi-storage for storage block consisting of 40 residential flats, and the other details are given in the table. You can see that in the table, mm, you can see that how much area they have given, how much building works they have given, sanitary works, electrical works are given. So then you can calculate it based on that. So finally, these are the costs of this total: roads and walkways, landscapings, external sewages, external water supply. This is how you have to do it and work out it. Let's see how much you are getting with the previous data which have I already supplied. So detailed estimate we already did it. So of course this detailed estimate is required when the approval of the estimate uh, got it. So when approval got it, this is used for uh, during the execution part, as well as this estimate can be used for with the billing purpose also. So this I already discussed the format of um, the estimate and bill of the quantities. So detailed estimate, maybe you solved some of the problems also. This last sentence is very important. Of course, the third sentence, the rates are usually as per the SR rate of the PWD. Percentage is usually 5% is also provided on the total estimated cost for the work to allow for the possible contingencies due to the unforeseen items and expenditures that I already discussed. Some of the things you cannot see it, but when you make the total estimate, it will exceed that is 5%. That 5% is nothing but unseen estimates. Of course, you have to prepare on report specifications, abstract of the cost. We already discussed it in the last class, and the calculation sheets. See, this is very important. Maybe this we have not discussed. Sometimes they may ask, um, explain the different types of detailed estimate. So first one is a contractor estimate. The contractor estimate, he will use it for the bidding purpose. The engineer estimate, um, for the financing works and all those things for contract, uh, for financing work, as well as for checking the bids, for running the bills submitted by the contractors. Then the progress estimate, these are made by the engineer at regular intervals for completed parts of the project during the progress of the work, for determining the amounts of partial payments to be made to the contractors. Of course, this can be done with the help of, we have one facility called, maybe when you are dealing with government projects, we have one separate inspection called third party inspection. When doing third party inspection, normally they will check the quantity and the quality uh, which you have proposed in your estimate, and they will compare it. Sometimes if any deviation is happening with the quantity and quality, so in that progress estimate, what he will do is that he will do some of the changes, and he will take the some of the approvals based on the inspection reports. What is this, the third party inspection? So normally this third party inspection, they are nowhere related with any of the, either he is related with the engineer, or either he is related with the contractor. He is third party, he is verifying all those things. Of course, the first he will be first, the hierarchy will be of like this. The first one is the contractor, On that, the section officer will be there. If you take any Jilla Panchayat, AA, JE are the section officers. So on that, some of the AEE will be there, E will be there. They are all come under this second. But the third party will be means he is no way concerned with the department or with the contractor. He will come and he will verify and he will directly submit it to the higher authorities, saying that the whatever the quality or the quantity mm, added the estimate and in the execution of in the field, um, it is correct or wrong, what changes can be made. Based on that, they have to make the progress of this estimate. Of course, mm, when you are calculating some of the different parts of the building, how you have to concentrate. Normally this site clearing works, when you start, I already said that you have to go with um, you have to visit the site. If the if your site consists of lot of jungle elements, if a lot of trees are there, unwanted things are there, you have to clear it first. So then when the site clearing works, you have to include it in lump sum. That lump sum we already discussed in the last class. When you are clearing it, there is no provision in your estimate sheet, but it has to be added in the lump sum part. So next, excavation for foundation of the trenches. Normally it can be did we have to do it in meter cube itself, that is cubic feet or cubic yard. So normally it is they have taken per cubic meter how much you have to what will be the cost for JCB. Normally for trenches, or if you want to remove the excavation of the soil, normally it can be calculated in our field. Mm, it is like per hour JCB. If you take it, JCB, they will come for 1 hour 700 rupees they will take it. Even that way, that way also you can do it. But normally when we are calculating with the help of the SR rate, PWD SR rate, so per meter cube soil excavation, what will be the price? But most of the time we will consider it per hour. If you run the JCB for excavation, this will be the rupees. And filling of the trenches. Filling in the trenches after the construction of the foundation masonry is ordinarily neglected. If the trench is filling also taken into account, it may be calculated by deducting the volume of the masonry in trenches from that of the volume of the excavation. So maybe when you are doing the trench calculation, that has to be taken care of. Of course, the foundation of the concrete, whether it's a PCC or this one, that you have to mention it always. One, what type of mixed proportions you are adding, that also you have to mix it, because different proportions, different types of rates are there, that has to be mentioned. This item is measured in, of course, cubic feet, and generally per cubic feet what will be the thing. When the soil is soft or weak, one layer of dry bricks or stone is applied below the foundation of the concrete. The soiling layer is computed in square feet. Of course, whatever the soil layer is the square feet, and the specifying thickness of the description item. Of course, this brickwork in foundation up to the plinth level. You already know what is the plinth level, what will be the execution level. Above that, what will be the maybe you already studied that. Care must be taken while taking the dimensions from the drawings in the bill of the quantities, because the walls in this part of the structure are in the form of steps with changing dimensions. Sometimes it will happens, so changing dimensions it will be there. So each and every height, along with that thickness, along with the width, has to be calculated separately, and that has to be added. Maybe you already did some of the calculations, and we solved one problem in our class by varying the thickness of the walls. And if the brickwork in the foundation and the plinth using the first class brick laid in 1:4 on cement and sand, cross sections mortar, some of the rates they have given, maybe they will, I'll supply it. 1:4 what will be the rate, 1:6 what will be the rate, mosaic floor what will be the rate. This is already there in the SR rate. You have to see the SR rate and you have to do it. Superstructures, when you are applying for the superstructures, so measurements of wall shall be taken in the same in order of the same brickwork in your plinth level. So same brickwork, cement more that has to be specified. So masonry of arches shall be paid separately. Of course, that arches, when you are doing it, that calculation you have to do it separately for arches. So the height of the superstructure is very important. Generally, the quantities are worked out for each of the storage buildings separately, and the rates would be different for different storage, because different labor work, scaffolding, shuttering, it will be there, because um, for labor for construction of wall is totally different from construction of the arches. They will take more. So of course, uh, damp proof course, when you are calculating the damp proof force, it is estimated in square feet on area basis. It is square feet basis, and it is always standard unit payment is rs, 100 per square feet. Of course, now it has changed, it has raised to 120 rates per square feet, it will change. And roofing and rcc works, so area of the roof slab is calculated by taking inside the dimensions of the room plus bearing of the roof slab on the walls on all the sides. For RCC and RCC slabs beams, the total quantity of concrete and steels are estimated separately. Of course, you have to make it separate, and you have to do it for the steel and the concrete. Um, Steel, of course, how much steel you have used for per ton capacity. The total quantity of a plain concrete is estimated in square feet, cubic feet, and the standard unit of payment, of course, it is what will be the um, this rupees per cubic feet of concrete. So RCC of the lintels or wall openings such as doors, windows are also included in RCC works. Of course, roofing and RCC work. Roof consisting of beams, battens, and tiles or the wooden planks is estimated for each part separately. That has to be taken care of. Roof finishing, that has to be taken separate. Maybe consist of bitumen coating or polythene sheets, that earth filling, heat proofing, brick tiles, and all those things that has to be taken separately. Of course, it is in a square feet. Payment is on this much rupees per square feet. So steel works always quintals. I already mentioned per ton. What will be the cost nowadays? It is per ton of steel. It is around 52,000. So if you use 52,000, of course 52,000 per ton is included. But when you are doing the calculation each of the beams or the columns, make sure that this much bar, this much is the rupees, this much you have used for first column, second column, or third column, or this beam we have used it. When you are calculating beam, how much you have used the seal, that you have to separate it and you have to mention it separately. Of course, floors, cement concrete floors, mosaic floors, and brick floors are most commonly used. So payments are made separately on different layers like topping, lean concrete, sand filling, earth filling. They are all separate. We have to do it. It's not only the floors, like if you use the tiles, below that we are using sand, below that we are using some of the laterite layer. So that each layer, laterite layer thickness, how much quantity, how much after the sand, how much quantity is there, what is the thickness, that calculation is separate. Usually it is a square feet unit. Plastering, the type of plasters are proportioning of the materials, and the minimum thickness of the plasters have to be specified. The quantity is calculated for total walls surface without deduction for openings such as doors, windows, ventilators, etc. However, if the wall is being plastered on both the faces, the deductions for opening areas are made from one side only. This is very important. So standard unit for payment is the square feet. Height is always specified for plastering, because For greater heights, labor cost increases. The rate varies according to the number of storages. Wood and carpentry. The type of the material used and the quantity of finished required should be clearly indicated in the description of the item. Means different types of woods, you have different um, rates are there. For example, you have sisam, if you have acacia, that per normally we can call it as uh, totally it is like cubic feet. So or sometimes in Kannada we can call it as a gear system. So what will be the cubic feet, how much gear of wood is there when you are buying the wood, when you are calculating it. That means size also has to be mentioned, and the what type of wood you are using it. So then how much for door, how much it is required, window how much it is required, that has to be that has to be calculated separately. So if the volume of the timber required for these items is to be finding the computed area is multiplied with the nominal thickness, and the allowance of 25% is made on the wastage of the timber. Of course, the rectangular wooden beams, vertical columns, trusses, etc. are measured in cubic feet. Wooden stairs are measured in number of steps, and description of the items including the riser, tread, and width of the steps. Wooden shelves are measured running feet only. This is very important. Last one. Plumbing works and sanitary fittings. For water supply and drainage works in the buildings, the pipelines, sewer lines are measured in mm, measured, while other things are in numbers. Square feet, that is numbered in square feet, others in numbers only. These items includes wash hand basins, kitchen basins, that is ceramic mosaic, washer closets, and some of the shower case and all other pipeline fittings. Plumbing works and sanitary fittings. Of course, you can go in detail one by one. Within the sewer lines, manholes or inspection chambers are to be provided at every corners, and also at a distance not exceeding every 50 square feet inside the house, and every 100 feet outside the hours. Normally the size of the manhole is 2.5 for low depths, and 3 into 3, 4 into 4, and 5 into 5 for deep depths. Drainage pipelines outside the covered area but not inside the boundary wall, usually RCC, with a minimum diameter of 4 inch. However, these are available at the different sizes. Inside the building, drainage pipes, usually CI pipes with a minimum diameter of 3 inches. Concrete pipes. So water supply pipes are usually galvanized iron pipes, estimated in um, estimated. So other accessories like sockets, elbows, tees, re- reducers, unions, estimated in numbers. How many numbers with? Of course, it depends on the quality of the material you are used. For example, Phenolax pipe, if you have used it, the quality is different. If you use Astral pipes company, that is price is totally different. So always mention the what kind of company you are using it whenever you are using all these fittings, because if you go any of the pipe fittings, so um, the Phenolics pipe is almost a 10% price higher than your Astral pipes. Mention always when you are doing the estimation. Electric fittings, all the accessories used in the electric fittings are described in detail. Payment is done on number of numbers. All the wires and pipes are taken, um, and other items are taken in numbers. So these are some of the relations are there. Maybe this we will cover it in the next class. Thank you.